Hi everyone, my name is Brenda MacLennan-Dunphy and I am nominated for the Jim Connors Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction for my novel The Silence of the Vessel. And I'm going to introduce you to the three characters that make up that novel. And we're going to start with Elspeth. Elspeth was at a loss. She was trying to fit in with all the younger mothers as they talked about the prom dresses their girls were going to wear and where to get the nails done the cheapest. They were also keen to get the after party organized, which totally confused her. She was wishing she had stayed back in Sydney where none of this would have been her responsibility. She sat around wondering why there were no actual grads at this planning session, only a bunch of hair-dyed women wearing the same clothing their daughters bought so they would feel like they were still young. She looked down at her woolen, formless sweater and pulled back a strand of gray hair out of her eyes, feeling 1,000,000 years old and in a world that she just didn't belong. I think we should simply hire a bus straight from the prom so that there won't be any cars at all coming to the party, said Angela, the mother who had stepped up to host the after-prom party, commonly known as the Pissa. That will save you all from getting them from the school to the party, and you'll only have the pickup to worry about. Nods of agreement seemed to be the predominant response to the suggestion, except for one mother. No way will Gloria stay until the end. I know she won't. She already has it in her mind that she's chucking the dress as soon as the march is over and she's heading to Jack's to start partying. Well, what's the prom for? Elspeth thought, but she didn't have the guts to bring it up. They had already discussed the schedule of chaperones and who should be where and who was going to bring the vests that glowed in the dark. We haven't discussed who's going to help them get on the condoms when the kids are absolutely loaded, Elspeth thought, a wicked smile crossing her face. Now we're going to talk about Madonna. Do you remember your brothers' names? Elspeth asked gently, bringing Madonna out of her reverie. She also glanced over at the heart monitor, which was showing a bit more activity. She looked at Cecilia to see if she was noticing it. Madonna took a second before really registering the question. The boys? Yes, I remember the boys' names. Angus was next to me, and then there was Jerome. And the older ones were Callum and David. I remember the boys clearly enough. I picked Jerome's name when I became a nun. Pick a name, a saint's name, of course, and we'll put Mary before that, and that's what you'll go by. The old sister, Sister Mary Patrick, had the ledger in front of her, looking up at Madonna as she should have known that this question was coming. Do you have one in mind? No, I don't. I didn't know that we had to know the saints. You don't know your saints? Didn't you study for your confirmation? The sister asked, her mouth tight and stern against her teeth. Her face was tightly circled by the white cloth of the habit, the pointed peak of it rising like a house above her head, making her seem so big, so intimidating. The nun's eyes were almost closed because of the large bags under them, sinus-prone infections causing days of discomfort and headaches that made her cranky. She had one today and did not have the patience for the simple-minded girl who had got herself in trouble and was now joining their ranks. She wouldn't make it in the classroom as a teacher, that's for sure. The congregation of Notre Dame might not have been the best choice for her. Do you have any brothers, then? Yes, 4, but they are boys. Of course they are boys. Most of our saints were boys at one time. Were any of them named after saints? Sister Mary Patrick asked, rolling her eyes towards heaven as if for strength. Angus was the nicest to me. He's closest in age to me. Madonna felt tears coming on suddenly, a wave of homesickness taking over. Not a saint. Any others? There's Jerome. He's older than Angus, probably a year or two. Then David, and Callum is the oldest. You've got a choice then. Jerome and David are both saints. That's not what my father would call them. The nun, surprised at the girl's insightful comment that didn't mean to be a joke, had to laugh in spite of herself. Why don't you go with Jerome? There aren't too many of them around here. Sister Mary Jerome, does that sound right? Madonna nodded. Mary's always been my name, my second name. But sister, don't you think it's a bit strange that I have to change my name Madonna to Jerome to become a nun? Now we're going to meet up with Jerome again because Elspeth goes to meet him to try and help Madonna. My name is Elspeth McKay. I used to work at the university there in Sydney in the Celtic Studies department, but I retired last year and moved to Mabu. Well, good for you. Got the whole life story there, not that I was really asking. He took another sip of beer. That's got nothing to do with me. Yeah, I suppose. Anyway, I'm doing some research for a friend. Well, more of a friend of my daughter's than mine. I only met her recently. But she's ill and she'd like some answers, I suppose. So I came down this way to see what I could find out for her. Are you going somewhere with this? Because you are boring me to tears, to be honest. Don't need company, yours or anyone else's. Jerome looked over at the other tables of single men. They'd been thinking he was finally going to get some at his age. Frig off the whole lot of you, he thought, but he knew not to say it out loud. He'd been thrown out too many times for picking fights. Well, I believe she's your sister, Madonna. Jerome pushed his chair back. That's enough. That's enough of that, he waved her off. I don't want to hear any more. She ruined our lives, every goddamn one of us. I don't want to hear a word about her. Everyone was looking openly at them now and listening too. The blonde even picked up the remote from behind the bar and turned down the TV so she could hear them better. She's an old lady, a nun, and she's sick. Jerome stood up and turned to leave. Elizabeth stood up too, and since she was only slightly taller than him, she could look him in the eyes easily. His were wild, lost looking like Madonna's had been, but with anger. Don't goddamn come near me, you hear? I don't know a thing about her, and I don't want to know a thing about her either. He stormed out of the bar, banging the door behind him. Now let's check in with Cecilia. She's working at the museum in Mabu. Beautiful morning, Cecilia. Have you had any visitors? Jessica asked. No, you folks are the first in the door. Other than myself, it's been pretty quiet. Still on the first page of the guest book, but it'll pick up, they tell me. Diane sat down first and primly crossed her hands on her knees. Let's start with a simple prayer, shall we, before we lose our focus. The other three looked at each other as if they had done something wrong and then sat down, their chairs forming a small circle in the open space of the room. Cecilia felt a bit self-conscious about people walking by in the street and them seeing her praying. She tried to fight that down. She would need to put that on her list of self-improvements that would need to be tackled when she got to Brazil. Oh, our dear and precious Lord, and His blessed Mother Mary, we beseech your help today. Holy Mother Mary, our Madonna, we as women strive every day to become more and more like you, sacrificing our own comfort and happiness for the good of others. As decisions need to be made and directions confirmed, we need you to help guide us to pick the right path, the meaningful path, for this day and for all the days ahead. Amen. Diane concluded and raised her eyes, unlinking her hands from prayer. Amen, they all responded. Everyone's eyes coming up, and all three looked to Diane, deferring to her to set the tone for the rest of the conversation. It's an exciting day for me, and I am so happy to be here with you today as I pass from being a contemplative novice of the Order of Mary's Maidens and become a professed promised sister. I will be part of a large ceremony when I get back to Sao Paulo, and all the girls who started with me 2 years ago who have kept the faith will receive the red headscarf and red belt to wear on our habits. Diane's excitement was contagious. Bridget reached over and touched her arm. That's wonderful, Diane. Yes, it's been hard work, but every day I've been learning more and about my spiritual practice and how it can fulfill my life and help others around me. So I can't believe it's been 2 years already. I've learned so much more than I ever could learn in a university. Can you give me some examples of that, Diane? I'm going to have a very hard time convincing my parents that this is a good idea. Cecilia knew it was going to be a hard sell, and she wanted to have as much ammunition as possible. Do you mind if I take some notes? I'll go blank, I know, when the time comes. Well, the visa application is in the works, and the plane tickets is going to be set soon. You are going to have to tell them that you are going. Diane looked at her, surprised that she still hadn't told them. I'm sure they will be fine with the idea, Jessica chimed in. I only wish I could go myself, but with the 2 young ones at home, I will have to live spiritually through Bridget here. You can serve the Lord wherever you are, Jessica, Diane smiled at her. Besides, we really are just focusing on the youth right now. So, the 3 women have lots of decisions to make. I hope you enjoyed the read, The Silence of the Vessel. Bye for now.